Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning. According to my little magic watch that I have here, it tells me that it is, what is it? 27th of September, 2025. And it is a Saturday. What does that mean? It means that it's a super day for you to change. It means that today is the very first day of the rest of your life. That's what it means. Anyway, I want to talk a little. This is all chit-chat, off the cuff, unscripted, little chit-chat. And I like that because I just say what's on my mind. But I want to go back to what that lady wanted to know. Why isn't Microdacism a religion? Well, for one thing, I hate religions. Religions have ruined more lives than you can imagine. And the book that has been used to ruin more lives is a thing called the Bible. This thing. It has been used to ruin more lives than you can imagine. This happens to be the one that stayed with me throughout my Navy career. The Good News Bible, thank God for that. Because I didn't read the King James Version. That is just an abomination. The King James Version is really garbage. Anyway, let me say this. Short history, based on memory. Here's the deal. So, Christianity has nothing at all to do with Jesucristo, Emmanuel, Jesus Christ. It has nothing at all to do with that, with him. Now, I happen to believe that Jesus Christ was real. As a matter of fact, I live my life in a way that is Christ-like. In other words, I will read Matthew 5, Matthew 6, Matthew 7, Matthew 8, and I do my best to live a Christ-like life. I have nothing to do with Paul. Paul is just, the scholars are beginning to find out that Paul didn't write a lot of his so-called epistles. Those were translated by scribes, overzealous scribes. Now let's get back to Christianity. Now, Christianity is based upon Paul. If you stop and think about it, when you go to church, they will probably quote more Corinthians and Ephesians and the Filipinos and whatever. They quote Paul more than any other books in the Bible. Why? Because Paul is the one who really give you impetus to hate. You say, wow, those are pretty strong words. Think about this. And I want you to think for yourself, okay? Think for yourself. No matter what position you take in religion, think for yourself. What did Jesus say about gays and lesbians? What did Jesus say about abortion? What did Jesus say about immigrants of color? What did Jesus say as reasons to hate your neighbor? Now you're beginning to get the picture, right? I mean, if you're really thinking, you're beginning to get the picture that Christianity has nothing to do with Jesus. So what you have is, currently in the United States, you have a very strong Protestant religion, okay? These are called evangelicals. And they are preaching not based upon the Bible, but based upon their ministers' political views. Now, the Protestants came out of the Catholics. Now, the Catholics, now that's an interesting religion, because the Eastern Orthodox split from the Roman Catholics. Why? Because they saw the flaws in the Roman church. Isn't that interesting? So they came from the Catholics. But the Protestants, evangelicals, if you have it, they came from a guy by the name of Martin Luther. Not Dr. Martin Luther King, that you're familiar with, but Martin Luther. Now, Martin Luther really challenged the Catholic Church. He did. The problem with Martin Luther is that he hated Jews. I mean, he hated the Jews. So Hitler used religion to his advantage and Martin Luther's hatred of the Jews to did what he did. You understand? So then you had, well, the Catholics, of course, and you had Christianity, of course, who came out of the Torah, the Jewish traditions, okay? And the Torah, that came out of what is known as the Kabbalah. Now, the Kabbalah is a collection of spiritual laws. Each letter, each word had a vibration, and it meant something. Now, if you're going to call yourself a Christian, before you ruin your household and your life and go to Bible studies and all this other nonsense, read the Kabbalah. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. Did you know that there are no white people in the Bible? None. So when you talk about people in the Bible, you're talking about people with color like me. In the Kabbalah, let's say in the Kabbalah they talked about spiritual laws. These are universal spiritual laws. And what you need to do is to read the Kabbalah for yourself. What you read in the Bible, they're all based on translations that are wrong. Okay, let's say, for example, that in the Bible, the word Lord, Lord, L-O-R-D, is actually meant law, like in spiritual law. Now, I'm going to read you, and I just flipped this over to Isaiah 49. It doesn't mean anything to me, really, but I'm going to read it based upon what I know to be true, okay? Listen to me, distant nations, you people who live far away. This is Isaiah 49. Before I was born, the Lord chose me. What if the word Lord meant law, spiritual law? So when you read it, before I was born, the spiritual law chose me and appointed me to be its servant. Spiritual laws. In other words, we're going to live by spiritual laws written in the Kabbalah. It made my words as sharp as a sword. With its own hands, it, meaning spiritual laws, protected me. It made me like an arrow, sharp and ready to use. It said to me, Israel, you are my servant. Because of you, people will praise me. See, now that's an interpretation by Isaiah. God didn't say this. This is what he thought God said. All right? And there it is throughout the whole Bible. A few days ago, we talked a little bit about the Lord's Prayer. And I gave you the correct translation directly from the Aramaic, what Jesus spoke, to English. And it has no resemblance at all to what you say is the Lord's Prayer. Now, you don't have to believe me. All I'm saying is think for yourself. Do your own research. So the procession is this. There was the Kabbalah, then the Torah, then the Bible, Christianity, and then from Christianity you had the different denominations, right? Why not go back to the original? You know what the original is? The original is that we separate the different manufactured gods. And you go to Wikipedia, and Wikipedia lists all these gods that people are worshiping. Listen, when Jim Jones went to Guyana and all those people committed suicide, you know why they did? They were not stupid people. It's just that they believed in Jim Jones. The people in Germany who supported Hitler were not stupid people, but they were religious people who believed in Martin Luther. You understand where I'm going with this, right? Currently, Christians hate Jews, Christians hate gays and lesbians, Christians hate abortions, Christians hate immigrants of color. Why? None of that is in the Bible, really. Jesus didn't have anything to do with any of that. Even Judas was framed. Yes, believe it or not. You read the Gospel of Judas yourself, and you will see that Judas was framed. All I'm saying is this. Think for yourself, and before you go and ruin your family with your Bible studies and your Bible this and Bible that, you want to get, first of all, try to get a translation that goes from the original into English, okay? Throw away that King James Version. Just throw it away. And before you do that, read the Kabbalah and know what you're talking about. It's a Super Saturday, and no, Microdacism is not a religion, and it will never be a religion, because I urge you to think for yourself. And when you do, you create your own school of thought. That's right, you as an individual create your own school of thought based upon your knowledge, based upon your experience, based upon your intuition. Do not follow a founder of a religion that once owned slaves, unless, of course, you endorse slavery. Have a super wonderful and a super Saturday.